What's up, guys? Teddy Cornwell here. Welcome to the Underdog Talk, the most underrated podcast on earth. And remember, there is something about the underdog. But, ladies and gentlemen, today we have an absolute beast on the Underdog Talk, aka the Boston Mass. But before we get into this interview, you know I have to give this man a proper Underdog Talk introduction. Hailing from Boston, Massachusetts, today's guest is a well respected for his size, strength, which has taken this gentleman to the Olympia stage on a number of occasions with four top three Mr. Olympia finishes, one of the best 212 bodybuilders of all time, and finally a man who once said, since grown men posting selfies in their underwear is the rage, I'd figure I'd join the party. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, the Boston Mass himself, Mr. Raymond. What is up, big fella? How are you doing today, man?
I'm fabulous. I had a great day. I just got home late last night from the Olympia and didn't get a whole lot of sleep. And I had a very busy day. So I'm good. I'm back home and back on track. So feels good.
It feels good. And before we even kind of dive deep into this, we did have Lee Priest on this podcast, but how the fuck did you get Lee Priest to do that revolving cam video with y'all dancing? How did you get that gentleman to do this?
Yeah, Lee is like a little kid. He's I didn't have to get him to. I think he persuaded me to do it.
Wow.
We did we were out all day, all night, having drinks, dinner, and every photo booth he saw, he wanted to get in and take pictures. And so then we saw they had a bunch of those revolving camera things. So we all jumped on there. He took me to the M&M store, me, him, my girl, and Chris Tuttle. And he was buying a ton of M&Ms. And Lee is a giant little kid. So it was a lot of fun. Lee's a great guy. He's so much fun to hang with.
He is, and you know, it's funny when we had him on the podcast. He was one of the most genuine and nicest guys I've ever talked to, and yet he is also just a character in his own. Now, obviously, speaking of the Mr. Olympia, what is it? 6 days ago. I mean, wow! It almost feels like it was yesterday when we saw the results, and obviously, 6 days ago was the 212 battle. So, I mean, what were your thoughts, obviously, on the 212 as being a superstar and a legend in the 212? And then, you know, did you think this was Sean's year to win?
Yeah, Sean, they got it right. Sean is pretty awesome. He has the most muscle per square inch. He was in arguably the best condition of everyone. He's the most balanced of everyone. Yeah. So yeah, I think it was a pretty easy decision to go with Sean. Yeah. He's another one I've had the honor of watching him come up from. He had a similar path that I did, which was doing a lot of the natural organizations, working up slowly, and then doing national shows, the Universe, and I met him for the first time in person in 2010. He came up to me at the Hartford, Connecticut Europa, and I had just won that. That was the first time I'd ever beaten David Henry, and he came up to me, and he was this little kid, and he couldn't have been more than 125, 130 pounds, and he was just so genuinely enthusiastic and nice. I wanted to pick him up and hug him. He was so little, but then I got to see him slowly get better and win the bantamweights, and then eventually win a pro show. And eventually he beat me in my very last show. He never beat me before that. And in my very last show in the Japan Pro in 2018, he came in second to David Henry, and I came in third. So it was nice. It was my last show, and you never want to lose, but to lose to two giant killers was okay to me. They're both great guys,
Yeah, damn. And obviously, we were rooting for our guy Kamal, who was on the show, and I love Kamal, truly a astounding
Yeah.
gentleman. But Sean, I mean, he brought the fire, and we see now that Breon is going up to the Open. Do you think more people from 212 will try and move up to the Open now that we did just see Derek, who did just get second?
I think it's a natural progression, but I don't think Breon's moving to the Open. He'll move to 212.
Oh, yeah, 212. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
He's moving to
yeah.
212. Yes. So,
Yeah,
do you think more people from 212 will move up to Open? Sorry.
yes, absolutely. Particularly because there's no, people on the horizon that are huge structurally and condition and with muscle. The closest thing to like a Lee Haney or a Phil Heath would probably be someone like Andrew Jack. But even Andrew is a bit older, so I don't see him going on a 7-8 year run if he does eventually win. So, yeah, the sport is being judged as it should be, which is all things included: balance, flow, condition, muscularity, but not just based on sheer size. And if they continue to do that, you'll see a lot more 212 guys doing open shows. I did 2 open shows during my career just for fun, and I did quite well. I placed second in one of them and fourth in another that had a lineup of Brandon Curry and Cedric in it. So I think if the sport is based and judged fairly, then there's a lot of good 212 guys that could do well. And a lot of the guys, if they're younger, what do? Someone like Flex Lewis, he was winning relatively young, and he had to constantly struggle to keep his weight within reason so he could make the 212 cutoff. And he, I think, could have done very well. The top 2 in this year's Mr. O
Or 212.
Yeah, well, and Flex has beaten them both. So what does that tell you? Flex definitely had the capability of winning the Open Olympia in my eyes. And he won't be the last. So there will be some young guys that are coming up that have the structure like a Derek and Hadi. They're really wide through the shoulders, because at no point would you say they were too small, or too narrow. They're just shorter. So yeah, I'm sure you'll see a lot of it. These guys are blazing the trail. The guy who placed third, Angel Calderon, he won the Big Man Pro in Spain last year.
Angel got second. Kamal got third.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. Angel won an open show this year.
Yes.
So, yeah, and Jean Clarita won an open show last year. So
and you're right, because Kamal was also doing opens going up into this 212 as well, preparing. So that is definitely a really interesting point. And I think, the 212 division, since you and Flex have kind of just made it just a reputable division, I think we're really seeing the popularity grow. And obviously, we're seeing some great names come out of it and stay in it too. And I'm so excited to see that. Now, I want to take it way back. I want to look at your story, sir. As you were the youngest of 8 siblings, who were all away by the state. You and your brother, obviously Tito, were adopted by the Raymond family.
Yeah.
Now, you did have a wonderful childhood, but I believe, what happens to us shapes us into who we are today. So how did this shape you into the man you are today?
Well, there's good and there's bad. It taught me resilience at a very young age, which inevitably shaped my abilities in athletics, sports, football, wrestling, baseball. I never gave up. I was always willing to work to get better. And, obviously that turned into bodybuilding as well. And I knew nothing came easy. The only thing that came easy to me was building muscle. And, but there's still way more to bodybuilding than just building muscle. You have to understand nutrition, and you have to get better at it, and you have to do a lot of cardio. For me, I was never like a naturally lean person. I was just big and bulky, almost chubby at times. And I had to learn discipline to get in shape. In my younger years, I got away with winning shows just by being bigger than the kids my age. But once you get onto the national scene, everyone's big and everyone's in shape. So, yeah, I would say that, the most that I gained from having an, shall I say, unorthodox beginning is that I learned resilience and never to, I spoke about this today with someone else, is I never get too high and I never get too low. I kind of stay what someone might call numbing out. I wasn't that guy that when I won the Arnold Classic was going to get on my knees and start crying.
Yeah.
I just kind of point my finger to the sky and say, thanks. And vice versa. When I lost, in 2015, not everyone, but my whole camp thought I was winning the Olympia. I knew better to prepare for the worst. So when I lost, it wasn't like I got too upset. It stung a little, but I just try not to get too excited or too upset over really anything, because I've had worse.
I agree. And, for the first time ever on my own podcast, I was in the same similar situation, growing up, same thing. That's why this underdog mentality is always something that I've embraced. And it's always that, we all, not saying every person who's in the situation is hungry, but it's almost like a sense of, I need to earn my way. Nothing was given to me. Everything has to be proven. And I think, that's what makes true underdogs an underdog. Everything to gain and nothing to lose, And now, speaking of high school, I just have to ask if this story is true. Is it true is when you entered sophomore year in high school, you were lifting more than everyone else in high school, obviously. I'm not surprised there. Benching 315 on a regular basis. And then did your teacher really pull you out of class
100%.
steroids?
Yeah, I was in algebra class and the phone rings on the wall and the teacher answers the phone and looks at me, hangs up the phone. He's like, you got to go to the AD's office, the athletic director's office. So I went down to the office. I'm like, what's going on? And my football coach was there, who happened to be one of my best friend's father. And he knew 100% who I was. But we had a female athletic director who was kind of a softball player type, with a short haircut, female that was, I don't know, let's just say she wasn't too fond of me. And she had seen me in the weight room. And even back then at 14 years old, I was very vascular. I had veins all over my shoulders and arms. And she said something to my coach and said, no, I want him tested. I want, because I was a big kid. I was the same size I am now, like same height. And, 160 pounds, 100 lean, And she said, we got to have you tested. I'm like, I didn't even know what she was talking about. I was 14. Tested for what? What do you mean? And my coach was like, he was so pissed, and felt so bad, but he was sick of hearing it. And he's like, fine, I'll drive you right now. So they took me to a place and got my blood tested and urine, and it was clean. And he made sure to make copies. And so all my teachers got it, because it was buzzing around the school, all the teachers. I wasn't the nicest little kid either. So I was the perfect example of of what might have been a roid rager, you know. But I was 14 years old. I had no money. I couldn't have afforded it, and I didn't even know what it was. So that kind of put a lit a fire into my ass. Though, you know, I was like, I just want to prove people wrong over and over and over again. So yeah, it was true, 100% true.
You know, I feel like
Today, honestly,
so much
today that would have been some sort of lawsuit. Today, you can't just call a kid out of class and make an accusation like that.
No.
We're talking that was the late 80s. So yeah.
You know, you must have got many girls after they found out. I think that's pretty darn impressive. The fact that they thought you were on something and you weren't. I mean, I wish I had the same problem as you, sir. Unfortunately, I do not. Now, you proved a lot of people wrong. As you know, in 2000s, it was your year. I mean, you started with the 2000 NPC USA Championship, just easily qualifying for the pro card. But from 2001 to 2009, sir, you actually qualified for the pro status 4 times. I mean, save some fucking pro cards for the rest of us, please, sir.
Yeah.
But would you mind talking about that feeling of finally getting your pro card, of after everything you've been through and all that hard work, that blood, that sweat and tears, sir?
Yeah. So, you know, it's funny. I was still natural. I was, and I was like constantly being accused of it because I was winning the universe. I was winning the Muscle Mania. I was winning all these natural organizations. And then I went to the USA's just because my brother was doing it. So I went with him and I won that. And back then they didn't give you a pro card for winning your class at the USA's. So it was just a win. I had no intention of being a pro bodybuilder. That wasn't my like, I knew that it was unrealistic because at the time they didn't have the 212 division. All they had were the freaks, you know, it was Jay and Ronnie. And I had really no aspirations to compete against those guys. Even the smallest guy up there was like Sean Ray, and I couldn't compare to him. So I didn't think about it in that way. I just liked competing. I was good at it.
Yeah.
So then the next year, 2001, I did nationals and I won that. And you get a pro card for winning nationals. But again, back then it wasn't as big a deal. We didn't have Instagram. So we didn't have like, hey, IFBB Pro, put it on your profile. It wasn't as big a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big deal to win the national title. But everyone knew that if anyone from light heavyweight down turned pro, they would never really be heard from again. Most of them anyway. And so I just kept going and I went up to welterweight and I won the welterweight USA, Universe, and Nationals in 05. And then I went up to middleweight in 07 and I won the USA's and Nationals again. And by that time, they had started a lower weight class in the pros. At the time, it was 210. It was the 210 division.
Yeah.
And this guy named Silvio Samuel, he was winning open and 210 shows. So they cut the weight down to 202. So I ended up breaking my leg 2 weeks after nationals. I had surgery. I had to take the whole year off. And then I came back in 09 in the 202 division. And I got smoked. My first show was the New York Pro. I did it naturally. I was 184 pounds and I got beat pretty handily. So then I just figured, you know, I was 34 years old. It's time to make that jump. If I want to compete in the big leagues with the big boys, I got to do what the big boys do. And, you know, that was it. That was my introduction into the next stage. And I put on 18 pounds of stage weight in 3 months and end up beating almost every guy that beat me. And then went to the Olympia, placed 6th in the Olympia. You know, so I was like 8th at the New York Pro and then 6th at the Olympia. So it was a huge turnaround.
And something that a lot of people don't understand about you and some of the greats is, and I've been able to tell, Sean and Flex Wheeler and even Kevin Levrone this consistency. I think that's one of the things that people don't understand how impressive that is,
Right.
especially for a top tier bodybuilder. Everyone said Flex, obviously people say he should have won, but the consistency from him and the consistency from you too. You had not one, not two, not even fucking three. You had four top three Mr. Olympia finishes. I mean, how do you stay so consistent over the years?
Well, I treated it like my job. And I loved it.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that was difficult for me to do. I enjoyed every minute of it. I loved getting on the step mill at 5 a.m. and pounding the stairs and then preparing my food. And it gave me a sense of balance. It gave me a sense of order in my life. It gave me direction. Otherwise, I was easily swayed into doing destructive things. So bodybuilding really saved me in a lot of ways. Yeah, and you hear that all the time. Oh, if I took juice, I'd look like you too. I'm like, do you realize I've been training every day for 30 years? Like brushing my teeth, it's part of my day, you know. And I started competing in '93, and I only missed 1 year in my entire career from '93 to 2018, and that was the year I broke my leg. I never took a year off to put on, weight or whatever. I never took a year off. I just did it every year.
I mean, consistency is key. And obviously, people don't understand in terms of you can take whatever you want. If you're not working your ass off every single day, then it doesn't matter. I truly do believe that is a fact. Now, obviously, sir, I finally want to end it. You've seen really all of it in the bodybuilding world. So, what is your biggest tip for someone who is looking to become a bodybuilder like you once were, sir?
Biggest tip. Educate yourself, not just on, nutrition, training, the supplement side of it, the posing, but actually knowing what bodybuilding is.
Yeah.
Because there's many people that I meet, and even over the weekend, Olympia competitors that I met that were damn good and didn't understand the simplest of things when it comes to bodybuilding. They don't know actually what they're seeing. You might say to someone, "Oh, you need to be a little tighter or drier," and they're like, "Really? What do you mean?" I'm like, "Oh, all right. Well, you didn't know that." It just comes with time. Wisdom. You have to try to learn as much as you can. The more you know, the better you're going to be. When you know what the expectations are, well, you know what to shoot for. Similarly to me, when I was starting out, I would get in good shape, but it wasn't until the 2001 Nationals that I came in absolutely twisted, shredded. And it was because I changed my cardio. I used to get on my bike and ride around the lake in my hometown. And that wasn't intense enough. I could glide, I was just going on a fun bike ride. It wasn't until I cranked up the treadmill on an incline and walked for 60 minutes or got on the step mill for 60 minutes that I was really doing real cardio. And that's when my body changed. Up until that point, I was just doing basic, easy cardio. And yeah, you have to know what it is. And that doesn't always mean getting a coach out of the gate. I think there's so much information out there. Sometimes it can be confusing. You don't know who to listen to, but listen to the people who've had real success. Real success. I mean, not just someone who turned pro, because that's not such a big deal. someone who's turned pro and won over and over and over and over again as a pro, as real success within the pro ranks against the best in the world. Also, don't just look at someone who has ridiculous genetics, because they may not have had to work so hard to get there. If you ask, Flex Lewis, how do you get those calves? He's going to say he was born with them. It wasn't some crazy, workout that he devised to build those calves. So you might look at someone who didn't have a back, and then a few years later, all of a sudden they have a great back. Well, that's a person I'd ask for back training, not someone who's always had a great back. You know what I mean?
I think it's so key to find those who have been there before us, have that experience. And when you said that 60 minutes of cardio was not much to you, I was thinking my 20 minutes of cardio was a lot to me, sir. So clearly, you are in a way different league than me. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I am talking with the Boston Mass himself, sir. It has been an honor and privilege. Before we go, the floor is yours. Where can we find your content? Where can we find your social media handles? Anything. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, I am the Boston Mass, THEE. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook too, but mostly Instagram's the easiest. I had a website. I'm not even going to plug it because it's not updated. But it's the Boston Mass. It'll be up.
It'll be up. Okay.
Yeah. I had one for years, and then it's just outdated. I had to redo it. So we're in the midst of that. And basically that's what I'm a trainer. I'm a coach. I prep people. I've been doing it for many, many years. So if you want to reach out to me, you can get me on Instagram.
And when you said Facebook, I forgot that was a thing. I'm not going to lie with you. I totally forgot Facebook existed. I mean, when can we expect the Boston Mass website to come out? Is there an expected date on that?
You'd have to ask my girl.
You got me excited. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, I would say in the next few months, the first quarter of the year.
Oh,
yeah, we'll have something up.
Training, all that good stuff on there, right?
Oh yeah. We'll have. I'll have a lot of instructional videos and different things that can be, because a lot of people want workouts, and it's a pain in the ass to write workouts, but what I will do is film workouts for people and explain exactly what I'm doing in a more scientific manner than the days when I was just training, grunting and moving weight. I can express and really diagnose each workout and explain what we're doing. Yeah, that's I love prepping people with the nutrition and the supplementation, but the workouts is something that's near and dear to my heart more because I do it every day with people, and there are so many little minute details to training that can make a huge difference. And I think it's very valuable, and people underestimate that for sure.
I totally agree. I mean, guys, please go check out the Boston Mass on Instagram. Some of the best posing I've ever seen on stage. Please go check out highlights. I mean, some of those O's you performed in, beautiful. I mean, just graceful. I got to say it. I don't know how you were so mass. Well, I was going to say massful. That's not a word. How you had so much mass, but were so graceful. And I realized I was wearing a Blue Jays hat the whole time. So I am so sorry about that. I took that off. I am so sorry about that. I did not realize that was on. Guys, please go check out the Boston Mass on Instagram. And when that website drops, I will be posting that because I personally am really excited for that. Guys, until next time, the Boston Mass and the Underdog out.